Good afternoon, everyone. So today, this is Mon Korean going live here from Tiju's Academy, Tiruvalla. Hope all of you are doing good. So let's start today's session in the speaking session. So as you all know, I generally take speaking, and today we are going to talk about or speak about strategies to improve your scores for your exams. So there are exams coming up now. So let's see some strategies and how you can improve your scores for your coming examination. So let's see what it's all about. So when it comes to IELTS speaking exam, aspirants step back to attempt this section. But understand this, there is nothing to fear if you have indulged in proper preparation. So speaking is one of the modules in IELTS, as you know, apart from the other three, that's your reading, listening and writing. And most of the students who are not, comfortable in speaking English, as it's not their native language, it doesn't comes to them naturally, they have issues in speaking and they may be scared. So here, IELTS speaking strategy is the key to success. It will help you to attempt this section without any fear. So I've prepared some strategies and steps that's going to help you in your examination, which is going to come up now. So here, everything happens on the spur of the moment. You have to be spontaneous and your first response needs to be your best effort. That is why preparation is important. So as everybody knows, first impression is the best impression. So say likewise, strategy plan you have to prepare yourself before you go for your examination. So make sure you practice a lot at home or any institutes or any academies that you go, and be perfect before you go. So some of the strategies that I put up today, let's start to speak about it or talk about it, right? There's nothing to be afraid. As you all know, it's easy. It's not a big, nut to crack. It's not that difficult speaking. If you practice, you will be perfect. Practice either, you'll surely get perfect. So let's start and see what it is all about. Some proven tips for IELTS speaking preparation. So tip prepare I prepared 5 tips for you. Some proven tips that will help you in your preparation for your IELTS exams or IELTS speaking exam. So the first one is to be aware of the timing and the scoring. Second is fluency and vocabulary. The third one is don't speak or don't give prepared answers. And the fourth one is avoid speaking in a monotone. And the fifth one is don't panic when you make mistakes. So speaking preparation tips or strategies that I've prepared for you all. So let's start with the first one. That is, be aware of the timing and the scoring. So before you attempt your examination, right, you should be aware of each modules. 3 section part 1, part 2, part 3, and how you are scored. So timing, as you know, it's around 13 to 15 minutes is your overall time in speaking time, and scoring is on 4 patterns. That is your vocabulary, your grammar, your pronunciation, and also your lexical resources. Adum nokittanallo avar idu ningalku tharunu scoring tharunu. So IELTS speaking exam has 3 parts. The first one is introduction, second is cue card or your task card, and the last is a discussion round. So if you all know it, it's better. Part 1 is your warm-up session aanallo adite. Rendamate cue card, and the third one is your follow-up session. Right. So part 1 is your introduction part, where you give your introduction. Nammalde warm-up session aanu 4 to 5 minutes aanallo adu sadharana nadakkunnu. So this part generally lasts between 4 to 5 minutes, and the examiner will ask you some general question based on your life, your hobbies, and more. So be straightforward with the answers. Be short and complete the answers. For example, if the examiner might ask you, do you think reading a magazine can help you learn a language? You can say, yes, it helps develop one's communication skills and also their vocabulary. So here at Tiju's Academy, what we do is, whenever a new candidate or a new student starts with the speaking module starting, we tell them to make, in the warm-up session, in the first session, part A, at least a 2 to 3 sentence answers kodakam vendi. So 4 to 5 minutes is your time in your part 1 in your warm-up, and 2 to 3 sentence answers kodukuna is good to give a 2 to 3 sentence answers. Okay, and what are some tips? You can use this part to develop your fluency and confidence. You will be nervous adete nammal when you enter the examination room with your examiner, you will be nervous and you will lose your confidence. So this is the time when you can build a rapport with your examiner and become more comfortable and confident, right? And also give answers, but do not talk for too long. So be precise. 2 to 3 sentence answers are more than enough for your warm-up session. Don't make it a longer sentence, longer 5 to 6 7 sentences lotta pondi avashila. A 2 to 3 sentence is more than enough. A yes and a no and 2 to 3 sentence, that's more than enough for your warm-up session. And be relevant and speak only about the asked question. So നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്താ ചോദിച്ചേക്കുന്നു അതിനു വേണ്ടി മാത്രം സംസാരിച്ചാൽ മതി. Talk about what you've been asked and not go off topic or talk about something that's not relevant to the question that's been asked to you. So you can use this part to develop your fluency and confidence. If you're nervous, become comfortable, right? Build a rapport with your examiner, smile, and then start talking so that you become more confident. So give short answers. Short means not one yes or no, but at least 2 to 3 sentence answers and not a long answer. And be relevant and speak only about the asked question. Speak about the topic and don't go off topic. That is what the tips are for your first part. That is your warm up or your introduction. So now when it comes to part 2, രണ്ടാമത്തെ പാർട്ടിലോട്ട് വരുമ്പോൾ your task card or your cue card session വരുമ്പോൾ speak on you're given a topic and some prompts and you have to speak on a topic given in the cue card or your task card. So in part 2 of the speaking exam, you will get a cue card with a topic. You will have 1 minute to prepare a few sentences for that topic and 2 minutes to speak on that topic. It can be tricky for many IELTS students, thus preparation is crucial for this task. Yes. Task 1, the part 1 is very easy. Part 1 is very easy. Why? Because all personal questions are avade choikina. They ask you all personal questions like yes and no questions, and that everyday happening, what's happening in your life, hobbies, what do you do, what you don't do. And it's very simple to answer, very, very easy to answer because 2 to 3 sentences are more than enough. But when it comes to part 2, it's a challenge for most of the students or almost all the students. Why? Because you just have 60 seconds. Oru minute ullu namakku samsarikan. In that, prepare yan, sorry. 1 minute to prepare. In that 60 seconds when you prepare, if you put more ideas, you can speak for a longer time. The more ideas you generate and write down in your paper, you can speak for a longer time. Kudal neram samsarikkan pattum. And that's the challenge for most of the students that I have seen here. So preparation is crucial for this task. അടുത്ത എന്താ പറയുന്നത്? Some tips for your part 2 or your task card or your cue card. Make useful notes that help you speak for a longer time. As I mentioned before, you will have a stationery will be given to you, paper, pencil, ellam you will be given. So write down as much as ideas for all your prompts and then proceed. The more ideas, you can speak for a longer time. Refer to the cue card to design the structure of your talk. Prompts ആണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഫസ്റ്റ് സെക്കൻഡ് തേർഡ് ഫോർത്ത് പ്രോംപ്റ്റ് ഫിഫ്ത്ത് പ്രോംപ്റ്റ് 3-4 പ്രോംപ്റ്റ് കാണും. സോ ക്യൂ കാർഡ് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ മേക്ക് ഷുവർ യു ഫോളോ ദ സ്ട്രക്ചർ 1 by 1. ആദ്യത്തെ കഴിഞ്ഞ് രണ്ടാമത്തെ കഴിഞ്ഞ് മൂന്നാമത്തെ and then you go till the last. And make sure your speech is long enough to last that for 2 to 3 minutes. So it's 2 minutes as per the IDP guidelines. So you make sure you can speak for more than 2 minutes when you practice. So when you go for the examination or when you go for your test, you can easily be confident. You know that you can speak for longer till the time the examiner stops you. So don't stop yourself. Wait till the examiner tells you to stop. Okay? Artha nokam. That's the discussion round or your part 3, your warm-up follow-up session. So in the follow-up session, this is also for 4 to 5 minutes, right? As same as your task part 1, that is your warm-up session. And here in the follow-up, the conversation could be based on any topic. Express yourself with some real-life experiences to look unique and more genuine. So here, ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ in your warm-up sessions, you can talk use YAM because all the questions will be directed to you and all those answers will be directed and it will be personal answers. There you can use the I word. But when it comes to the discussion round or when it comes to the follow-up session, here all the questions will be asked to you in a general way. So make sure you don't use I, use the words we, us, our country, and go ahead. So I believe you know the how you go, all of you know how to go about it. The more you practice, the better you become. So make sure when you're practicing, don't use the word I in your part 3, because all the questions are you have to be answered in general way, in a general way. Okay, now let's move over to the next slide and see tips for your part 3 or your follow-up session. Make sure you know the relevant information about the topic. So the more you practice and the more cue cards or the task cards you prepare, you will be aware of more topics in general to speak about. Support and extend your answers to look confident. Try to give an opinion and an example. Or opinion or example kodukam pattuvaning, it's very good, so that the examiner knows that you're supporting and extending your answers and also giving an opinion and an example. Same thing, before you start speaking, before you start your cue card speaking session, immediately the first thing you need to do is, instead of straight away jumping into the answer and giving the first second prompt loto chadannu mumba, it's always good to rephrase the question so that the examiner can understand, you know, you've understood the question and you can rephrase it, and then you start, right? It's always good to rephrase. So rephrase the question to understand what the examiner is expecting. Fair enough. So let's move over to the next slide. That is your second. Out of the 5, we have completed the first one. Now we are in the second strategy. That's your fluency versus vocabulary. So IELTS aspirants always get confused to maintain consistency between fluency and vocabulary. Both of these skills carry the same weightage in the scorecard. So, fluency has 25% of weightage, as well as vocabulary. Both of these have 25 each. So 25 for fluency and 25 for vocabulary, right? So you can be ready for the IELTS speaking exam with extreme dedication and practice. It is advisable to be fluent during the exam rather than thinking or worrying about using the best words. If you are speaking fluently, it will create a good impression on the examiner. And hunt only for 2 to 3 unique words while you speak. Fluency and vocabulary, they go hand in hand. So make sure, instead of trying for longer vocabularies, words that is complicated and tongue twisters, if you cannot pronounce it properly, it's better to just stick to 2 to 3 words that are different. Out of the box or questions, words it's good, right? Rather than going deep into the vocabulary part, because if you're going deep and thinking about the vocabulary, you will be losing out on your fluency. Fair. So make sure the fluency and the vocabulary go hand in hand. Instead of going for deeper vocabulary, longer vocabularies, try to find out words that are short and you can pronounce clearly, so that at the same time you speak fluently. So that was not going to affect your scores. Right. Idinoru tip noka. Fluency and vocabulary, and then it says don't speak prepared answers. Many IELTS aspirants try to memorize the answers. Never do that. Never do that, because if you give memorized answers, normally memorized answers the examiner will come to know immediately. And when you give memorized answers, the maximum band score, ningalde score 4 or 5 I don't think so. It's as per the score band scoring sheet it's 3 or 4. That's the maximum you can get, not more than that. And the examiner will immediately come to know that you're giving memorized answers, right? So make sure you talk naturally. The way you talk naturally is the best way. So don't speak or don't give prepared answers or memorized answers. Many IELTS aspirants try to memorize the answers as many do in schools and college exams. But it will not help you here. Well, because there are many possibilities of having a random and unaware topic in the cue card. Right? Memorized answers. So what you will do is you will be having lots of questions from previous examinations, and you will keep on memorizing them. But then what happens if you don't get a question that you have already memorized or and if it's something that you have never prepared? So there you're going to goof up. You're not going to be able to answer or prepare or speak about it. So it's always good to speak naturally. So speaking is something that determines your spontaneity too. It is advised not to speak prepared answers. The examiner will immediately come to know that you're regurgitating your response. This in turn would affect your score adversely. As I mentioned in the Mumbata Kore live sessions, I have said it, that please don't give memorized answers, as if you give memorized answers, you're not going to get your desired band scores. The examiner will immediately come to know, and then max to max you're going to get is 4 is what the scores that you're going to get. So it's always good when you're practicing, try to come up with your own natural way of thought and the process, and use those thoughts to speak naturally instead of giving memorized answers. Okay, Artha Nokam. Avoid speaking in a monotone. What is monotone? First of all, monotone endana adu njan parayam. Speaking from the start till the beginning in the same way, right? That is called monotone. Ore bole samsarikya. No. What you should do is, you should be giving or pausing wherever there is a comma. Or a comma varumbo, or a small pause. And when there is a full stop, a longer pause. Exclamation, a small pause. Right? So that's how intonation. So some words should be stressed and some you don't have to stress. Right? Intonations okay kodukanam. So make sure when you're practicing, you follow that. Don't speak from the start till the end. Don't speak in the same way, right? Be energetic. Pause whenever there is a comma, a full stop, a longer pause, right? Exclamation varumpo, a short slight pause kodutittu samsarikanam, right? Vary your pitch at several points to sound more fluent and interesting. Intonations kodukanam, stress kodukanam. Which words should be stressed? Which syllables should be stressed? Stressum adu kodutittu samsarikanam. Monotonous speech can sound less fluent. That's true, and it doesn't sound exciting, and it doesn't, the examiner who's listening to you will not be engaged in the listening process. He or she will feel that you're just reading out something. നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും വായിക്കുന്ന പോലെ ആയിരിക്കും തോന്നുന്നു, rather than a talk or something that you're engaging in. So avoid speaking in a monotone. So be natural. That's the best way. And when you practice, make sure you follow the commas, the full stops, the exclamations. The word is stress kodukanam. Adu nokkittu practice. So that's going to help you in your speaking module, especially when it comes to the fluency part, right? The examiner will be giving scores on your fluency, because fluency also counts for 25%. You are going to get a good score in fluency if you follow not the monotonous ആയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നതിനേക്കാൾ നല്ല exciting ആയിട്ട് interesting ആയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ when you are engaged, then the listener is also feeling happy, and he or she will give you better scores when it comes to your speaking. Artha Noka. Don't panic when you make mistakes. Yes, it's completely fine even when you make a mistake. While speaking, mistakes tend to happen if you are talking too quickly or uttering a wrong word accidentally. So don't panic if such situations occur. Practice the IELTS speaking test with a tutor or a friend, a trainer. It will help you get better. And if you are quick to correct your mistakes, go for it. This will indicate that you are conscious of what you are speaking. But if you don't know how to correct your mistakes, don't worry, just move on or carry on. Right? Self-correction chiyadirikkunnaayirikkum nallathu. But yes, if you know you have made a mistake and you're confident enough to accept that, and you say, I'm sorry, I meant to say this, fair enough, you can go. But then don't try to correct yourself all the time. Just move on or just carry on. Mumbotu poikondirikku. That's better. Right? And don't get panicked if you said something wrong. And if you're not getting a word, you have uttered a word wrong. Fine, it's fine. Don't try to self-correct it. Just go ahead. That's not going to affect your scores. Okay. And some last-minute IELTS speaking strategies. When you don't understand something, be honest to respond. I'm sorry, but could you please elaborate on what you mean, rather than answering the wrong question. Very true. Or a question mansilayilla. If you have not understood a question given out by your examiner, whether it's in the part 1 or the part 3, warm up ilayalum, follow up ilayalum. Because in the part 2, you can read that and you can answer it, prepare yourself. But when it comes to part 1 and the part 3, that is your warm up and your follow up, the examiner is going to ask you questions. And when you don't understand that, right, or you didn't get it, you always have the right to ask the examiner, I'm sorry, could you please repeat that again? Or Could you please elaborate that for me? അത് നമുക്ക് പറഞ്ഞ് മുമ്പോട്ട് പോകാം. Right? And try to use advanced vocabulary to express yourself. Don't use the same words and phrases in a sentence. So, right? 2 to 3 unique words. That's what I meant before also. 3 words എടുക്കുന്നേക്കാളും 2 to 3 select some 2-3 good words and use them rather than very long vocabs use ചെയ്യുന്നേക്കാളും which pronunciation becomes difficult for you. And don't use the same words and phrases in a sentence over and over again. That's for your vocabulary part. And then when it comes to the grammar part, take care of the grammar used in the question. If the examiner asks, how was your experience? Your answer should be, it was good, and not, it is good. The tense. Because grammar also plays an important role. That's also 25%, right? So practice your tenses, your past, present, and your future. That's going to help you, because when the examiner asks you a question that's related to your past, you have to answer saying it was or in the past tense. If something that's happening in the present, make sure you know your present tense. And if it's something that's asked about your future, your answer should be also related to your future tense answers. So if the examiner is asking you, how was your experience? Ningalde experience eganayayirunnu? It happened a long time ago or some time back, right? So that has already happened and it was in the past. So your answer should be, it was good, right? Adu nalladayirunnu. I had a good experience when I went so and so. It was good, it was great. Rather than saying it is good, which is going to be in the present tense. Fair enough. So these were the slides that I had prepared for all of you. So hope you like this and practice more so that you get good scores in your examination. See you next time. This is Mon Korean signing off from Tiju's Academy, Tiruvalla. Take care, all of you. Goodbye.